There are moments in life when everything in us wants to fight back, to argue, to defend ourselves against the voices that rise against us. The world tells us that strength is found in volume, that power is in proving ourselves, that if we do not speak up, we will be forgotten. But today I want to tell you that real strength is often found in silence. True power is in standing firm, knowing that you do not have to justify yourself to people who've already made up their minds. The greatest battles are not won by shouting, but by standing. The greatest victories do not come from fighting, but from faith. The Bible tells us in Exodus 14:14, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Think about that. How often do we try to fight battles that were never ours to begin with? How often do we argue with people who will never understand, who do not want to understand? How often do we exhaust ourselves trying to prove something that God has already settled? Jesus stood silent before his accusers. The Son of God, the one who could have called down legions of angels, who could have defended himself with power, chose instead to be silent. Why? Because he knew his purpose. He knew the truth did not need to be shouted. He knew that God's will was greater than the opinions of men. And if Jesus, the King of Kings, could stand in silence before those who falsely accused him, how much more should we trust in God when the world rises against us? Silence is not weakness. It takes strength to stay silent when everything in you wants to respond. It takes faith to trust that God sees what others do not see, that he knows the truth when others believe lies. When you are wrongfully accused, when you are misunderstood, when people question your heart, do not waste your energy trying to convince them. Instead, stand firm, stay silent, stay strong, because the truth always comes to light in God's time, not ours. Sometimes silence is the greatest weapon you have. Think about a seed buried deep in the soil. It does not make noise. It does not fight for attention. But in the quiet, in the stillness, something powerful is happening. Roots are growing. Strength is being built. And in time, that seed will push through the soil and become something great. But the growth happens in silence. Your strength is being built in the quiet seasons of your life. When you feel overlooked, when you feel forgotten, when it seems like no one sees your struggle, God sees you. He is working in the silence. He is preparing you, strengthening you, shaping you into the person He has called you to be. We live in a world that tells us we must always respond. Social media encourages us to speak out, to share our opinions, to prove ourselves. But I want to remind you that not every battle requires your words. Sometimes the greatest thing you can do is let God do the talking. Let your life speak louder than your voice. Let your character be the answer to those who question you. Let your faith be the proof of who you are. When people talk about you, when they misunderstand you, when they accuse you of things you did not do not waste your breath. Stay silent. Stay strong. Let God be your defender. Because in the end, it is not what people say about you that matters. It is what God knows about you. He sees your heart. He knows your intentions. He understands the battles you are facing. And if He is for you, who can be against you? There is a time to speak, but there is also a time to be still. There is a time to fight, but there is also a time to let God fight for you. David did not have to convince Goliath that he was strong. He simply stood with the power of God behind him. Daniel did not have to explain himself to those who threw him into the lion's den. He trusted in the Lord, and God shut the mouths of the lions. Your strength is not in proving yourself. Your strength is in trusting that God has already gone before you, that He is working on your behalf, that He sees every tear, hears every prayer, and knows every pain. And if you remain faithful, if you stand firm, He will bring justice in His perfect time. Joseph was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. But you never see Joseph arguing, complaining, or trying to defend himself. He remained faithful. He trusted in God. And in the right time, God elevated him from the prison to the palace. Your silence does not mean God has forgotten you. Your stillness does not mean you are weak. It means you trust that God is in control, that He is working all things for your good, even when you cannot see it. Stay silent when they question you. Stay silent when they mock you. Stay silent when they do not believe in you, because your silence is not emptiness, it is power, it is trust. It is faith in the one who sees all things, knows all things, and will bring all things into the light. Do not let the voices of others shake your confidence in what God has spoken over your life. Do not let their opinions cause you to doubt your calling. Do not let their rejection make you forget your worth. You were chosen by God. You were set apart for a purpose. And no amount of criticism, no amount of misunderstanding, no amount of false accusations can change what God has destined for you. The enemy wants you to react. He wants you to get distracted by the words of people who do not see the full picture. But when you remain silent, when you stand strong, when you keep your eyes on God instead of your accusers, you frustrate the enemy's plans. You take away his power, because he cannot shake a person whose faith is anchored in God. So today, I encourage you, when life pushes against you, when people rise up against you, when everything in you wants to respond, remember this: stay silent, stay strong. Let God fight your battles. Let him be your defender. Let him be the one who speaks for you. Because in the end, it is not your words that will prove who you are. It is the life you live, the faith you hold, and the God who stands beside you. Trust in him. Wait on him. And in the right time, he will make all things right. Until then, stand firm, stay silent, stay strong.